They lied about the slave trade, an indigenous review. And this book is releasing this week, and it's a part of the documentary series, We Are Indigenous. When we go to the Slave Trade Voyages website, we can see an estimate of over 12 million slaves from Africa and an estimate in the inter-American slave trade of over 600,000. Yet they use the word imputed. And what does that mean? It means assigned to something by inference from the value of the products or processes to which it contributes. Estimated. So these are estimates and inferences. When we go to the actual voyages, we notice in the next to last column that some of the ships had no captives. This is a close-up of it. So what was on the ships that travel all the way across the Atlantic? We see the very same thing for the inter-American voyages. No captives on ships that were traveling. They were not carrying slaves, they were carrying commodities. When we get to the data variables, we see that embarkments were only over 8,000 for Africa. Disembarkments at 18,000. This is the inter-American real data variables, and we see 7,000 embarked and about 22,000 disembarked. So what are we witnessing here? What we have here is a time lapse of the ships. Over 20-some thousand ships in the inter-American, and there were over 36,000 from Africa. Yet, when we calculate the data from embarkments, the actual data, what we find out is that the numbers only reach about 16,000 actual data embarkments. And if we count the disembarkments, we get about 40,000 in the slave trade. All of the ships that are listed with no captives that travel across the waters, what do you think they were carrying? Why would you travel from London to Africa all the way across the Atlantic with no captives? This is their data. This is not me making this up. And so what we have here is a very deceptive inference, estimated, imputed system of trying to hide something. And what are they trying to hide? You're looking at it in the time lapse. Indigenous people were taken from South Carolina into Cuba, from the Carolinas and Virginia into Jamaica, from Jamaica back into the States, from Brazil into the North American continent, from the North American continent back into Mexico. In fact, the slave trade started with Americans being taken from America back to Europe and Africa. And so we wrote the book, They Lied About the Slave Trade, so that you could get this information and not have to go by estimates, inferences, or something being imputed to you. They listed the real data on the very same website that they lied on. And this is important because this shows if someone will go through this much effort to lie, to deceive, to veil, through very shrewd methods, what do they want to hide? They want to hide the fact that the population of Black Americans in the Americas was already here. The mound builders, the pyramid civilizations, the Xi. Not only do we have their commentary of proof when they first came here and who they saw, but we left it in stone. Where else can you go and see locks and dark skin in Banampec, in Chichen Itza? They lied about the transatlantic slave trade. They lied about a lot. But this impacts your identity. And so it was important for us to write this book. They lied about the slave trade.